Welcome to my Y&R Young and the Restless daily recaps. Now this recap is for the week of January 15th through January 19th. January 15th through the 19th, I'm going to cover the entire week. So let's start off with, Summer and Chance are actually getting off to a nice start. Not just, oh, we see each other, let's end up in the hotel in a bed. They're having dates, they're talking as friends, eating as friends, and kind of, building a mutual respect for one another. And I like it. I really, really like it. So what I really like is they showed the growth in Summer's character, because here we have her mother telling her to go after Chance, even though Chance was with Sharon. They had her brother pretty much even saying the same thing, which surprised me. But guess what? Not really for what he's doing. Now, we know Summer from the past was impulsive. She was her mother's daughter. She would have just, the scheming she did to get Kyle, that's not above her. But she did not do that this time and stuck with her guns. She saw Chance and saying, Chance, what are you doing here? She ran into him at the Crimson Lights, and it's Sharon's business launch party tonight. And she's like, what are you doing here? You're late. You got to get dressed. You got to go to Sharon's launch party. Okay, you know what? It's a little late for you to get dressed. You can go just the way you are. That's going to be good enough. And why are you here? And he finally told her, well, he wasn't going, that he and Sharon decided that, since they broke up, that it wasn't necessary for him to be there. And right now they're in that kind of awkward breakup phase. You know how you just break up with somebody, even though there's no animosity, but it's still awkward, still a little raw. So they decided, this evening was all about her launching her business, no distractions. So he says he stayed out. We decided to stay, not honor her wishes. And they decided, and he goes, you know what? This was very amicable party. He goes, and hopefully with some time, Sharon and I will be able to be friends again. So Summer invited him to dinner. And since he didn't accept right away, she's like, you know what? We could reschedule. And he goes, no, I'm not letting you off the hook that easy. Yes, I'm hungry. Let's go. So they have a really good dinner. Relax, calm over wine. He talked about his breakup, how it has him in a little funk, because she goes, I'm surprised because every time I saw you and Sharon, it seems like things were going really well. Like you guys were really into each other. He said, that's what I thought. But Sharon knows what she's not looking for, what she's not ready for. And he goes, actually, she was right breaking it off with me. She was right. And I'm happy she did. So, you know what? We'll see. This is going to butt into something. And guess what? As soon as it really starts to get good, you want to know who's going to rear his head? Kyle. Watch. Harrison's going to get sick. He's got to call Summer. Can you come over? See, they're going to let this relationship get closer, and then watch them have Kyle rear his ugly, jealous head. That's what's going to happen. So, Sharon's big night. She has a launch. Pretty much Chancellor, Jabot, a few other people there, but it was small, wasn't that big. And Nick, the Noah and what's her name? Noah and Faith gave Sharon a bouquet of roses, and Nick got her a really nice gold plated on marble, a Sharon Newman CEO little desk, whatever you call those things, nameplate for the desk. She really liked that. And, they thanked everybody. Mariah handled the press. She did a very good job. And before the party or getting there, Billy and Devon are at Chancellor Winters. And Billy's like, Devon, did you take a look at the proposal I sent you? He goes, not yet, Billy. He goes, I have had a lot on my plate and I haven't had a chance to look at that. And so he goes, yeah, but won't take you too long to look at it. And, I put a lot of care and thought in it. And he goes, and I understand that, Billy. He says, however, I don't make rushed decisions. I will get to it. And when I get to it, he says, I will be able to give it all of my attention. Right. And so Billy's just, kind of looking at him like, because I kind of think you see, come on now. And so Chelsea and Abby come in and they're like, hey, there they are. We knew they would be working uh, late. Come on, guys, we gotta go. We got it. But they could see kind of tension between Devon and Billy. And so Chelsea's like, hey, you guys want a double date over there? And they could see them look at each other, and Abby looks at Devon, and Chelsea looks at Billy like, I guess not. And Devon says, no, I've got a few other things that I want to take care of here before I get over there. And so Chelsea's like, oh, okay, we'll meet you there. Right? He goes, yeah. And so Billy says, well, what's something to the effect of, don't take too long to get there, or whatever he said. And Billy's like, and Devon is like, I always do. It's just some kind of comeback he gave to Billy. Well, remember, I don't know why they're having them do that much interaction with each other. Yes, Billy and Devon collaborated, but each is running their own entities within Chancellor Winters. Devon is over Winters, Lily is over Chancellor. They would just discuss some projects together, maybe that they wanted to present to Jill. But Devon really didn't have to sign off on anything for Lily. I don't understand why they're having it intermingled like that, right? So when Chelsea and Billy walk out, Abby's like, okay, what's going on here? And he goes, it's just Billy trying to rush me. And I don't make rushed business decisions. He's used to being impulsive and just doing things. He goes, I need to evaluate the information I'm given. And you know what? I'm not mad at Devon for that, because realistically, everybody, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall Devon going into any bad business deals. Really. So there is a method to his madness. So anyway, they get to the launch and party, and Jack and Diane show up there after Diane was trying to talk Jack into giving Kyle the CEO job at home before they leave for it. And Jack's like, look, we got to go. We're going to be late. We don't have time to talk about that. That'll come later. She's like, but Jack, they go, let's go, let's go. And she's just looking like, oh, she's really pushing for her son. So they get there, and Jack and Diane come up to Devon, and Chelsea and Billy are at the bar area of the jazz lounge, and Devon and Abby kind of by there too. And then Jack and Diane walk up. And then they bring up Tucker to Devon, asking like, so what's Tucker doing, or what's going on with Tucker? Do you have any information? And Devon is looking at them. He goes, well, you all are talking to the wrong person about that. Tucker and I don't even speak. So I can't give you any information. And they're like, well, we hope he's not still coming after our companies. And Devon is still like, well, let's hope not. I mean, really, he is not his father's keeper at all. So Sharon does her speech, and she talks about 50% of the proceeds of her business is going to go to charities, to the New Hope Foundation, which is the housing, to the Hamilton Winters Foundation. She's going to do some stuff to them. And then Faith wanted her to do something with the foundation that helps fight against teenage drinking. So they, had some, they're applauding her like, oh my goodness. And she's like, and she's really looking happy or forward to other charities that they will be able to donate. And she says, and all the businesses that I mentioned, all of those foundations are going to get free software, which was nice. And so she then has this easel with something covered up, right? And she says, we have new beginnings with this company. I have taken something old, something tainted, something that needed to be turned around. And she says, one last thing it needs is a new name. So she took the cover off of the easel, and it's called Cassidy First Technologies. And we all know Cassidy is Cassie's name. And Nick, when he saw it, he instantly got teary-eyed. And she looks at Nick, and he nods his head like, good choice, good choice. Cassie and Tessa kind of hug each other. Then Cassie walks over to Nick. Not Cassie, I'm sorry. Well, look, same actress to play. Mariah walks over to Nick and puts her head, like on his chest and, to give that little side hug. So it made an approval. And then after, everybody claps and everything, she and Nick talks about it, and he goes, good choice in names. And she says, I would like to think Cassie is looking down on us happy right now. So that was nice. I did like that. I like that a lot. So then we have, let's see what's happening, because this is a whole week's progression. We have Parent Trap going wild. We have Lucy setting them up again. See, they're allowing this to happen. And she wants her mother to come over and make grilled cheese. Now, Danny offered to make it. And she goes, oh, no offense, but no. And then Daniel said, I could make it. She goes, nobody can make it like mom. And I really want grilled cheese. And she just starts texting. And Daniel says, so are you texting your mother right now to come over? She goes, yep, I want grilled cheese. So she walks out. And Daniel and Danny are talking, and Danny's kind of questioning him on, you see where this is going, right? And Daniel's like, well, I can't deny my daughter's, happiness in her choice of dinner. And Danny's like, well, of course not, but you and Heather are being put closer together. How do you feel about that? And Daniel's like, I don't know. I don't know where this is going. And I'm thinking, yeah, you do know. You absolutely do know. You need to let Lily know now. Don't have her come back, come home. You all are sitting at the table like a family. You're sitting on the couch, Heather leaning all on you. And she walked through the front door because remember, Lily has her own key. And that is what's going to happen. She's going to walk through the front door on them when she does decide to come back. So after dinner, Lucy's like, they ended up having to make, I think, peanut butter and banana sandwiches because they did not have the cheese for the grilled cheese. And she goes, this was just what I needed. And they had hot chocolate sitting around the table. So she's like, this hot chocolate will help put me to sleep. And she kisses them both good night and she walks out. And so Heather was talking, and Daniel said, Heather, you don't have to feel obligated to come over here and cook for Lucy every time she asks you. And she says, I don't mind. She goes, I don't mind cooking for our daughter because, it's going to only be so much time. She's a teenager. It's only going to be so many more years that I'm going to have that she's going to even want me to cook for her. So every time our daughter wants me to cook for her, I'm going to do it. And I'm thinking, you have your own apartment. Don't they have some kind of visitation schedule going on, right? You cooking for Lucy when Lucy's staying with you. Lucy's got her own room with you. So then she just says, Daniel, um, I guess I'm sure you could tell what's going on here. And he's looking like, well, what's going on, right? And she goes, but I guess you want me to out and out say it. That I am falling back in love with you, Daniel. And he just looks at her. And I thought, you knew it. Don't pretend like you didn't know it. You knew exactly what was happening. She's giving you every hint in the book. Even your father has talked to you about it. Just like your father knows what's happening on his front, right? So anyway, we'll see where that well, we already know where that's going to go. But she told him, and they left it at that. He has not responded. So now this was good. Oh my goodness. Phyllis, Phyllis, Phyllis. She runs into Christine at Society. And at Society, Christine, she goes, I want to apologize for you, Christine. And she's like, what do you want to apologize to me for? I'm typing, how old is Michelle Stafford? Michelle Stafford on The Young and Restless. I forgot to get, oh, okay, y'all. Now, the reason why I did that. So Christine is like, um, Phyllis, she goes, yeah, as if I believe this phony apology of yours. She goes, well, that's okay. She said, there's nothing you could do to bring me down, something like that. Getting ready to get out of town. Oh, you're going out of town? She goes, oh, Danny and I are going out of town. Oh, she goes, oh, Danny didn't tell you? He and I are going out of town. We're going to the mountains. And Phyllis is like, no, Danny didn't tell me. Because if he had, I would have steered him in another direction. Because it's cold and drafty in the mountains. And Christina's like, all the more reason to just snuggle up under a blanket. Danny and I want to see where our relationship is going to lead. And so she says something to Phyllis, and Phyllis says something to Christine. Like, oh, no, Christine goes, Danny made all the arrangements, lied. See, she was gloating and lied. Remember, Christine made all the arrangements. She told Danny, stay here. I'm going to go take care of everything. Mm-hmm. He didn't, because Daniel's too busy playing both of them against each other to make arrangements for anything. So Christine leaves, and Phyllis goes back to her room. And Phyllis is doing Phyllis. You know how Phyllis can hallucinate and make stuff up. She's just been blowing up Danny's phone, blowing up Danny's phone. And Daniel's sitting there, they were sitting on the couch. And this was before Heather got there, right? And Danny's kind of looking at his phone, and he goes, somebody's blowing up your phone. He says, ooh, I bet it's Christine, because, not too many people can put that look on your face. And Danny's like, what? See, playing both of them against the middle. It was Phyllis doing all that texting. And then at the hotel room, Phyllis is like, don't ignore me, Danny. Danny, don't ignore me. Answer my text. Answer my text. I'll be, the bug. She goes, oh, I know. Christina's sitting right there with him, filling his head full of bashing me at every time. And Phyllis is like, I won't let the bug win. The bug. And I'm like, see, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So Phyllis goes to her drawers pulling all kind of stuff out. She gets this bra and panty set match. And then they show her standing right there in that bra and panty set. And I said, good God, woman, she is toned like there is no tomorrow, right? Which is why I just looked up her age, because I meant to look up her age before the recap. That is the body of a 58-year-old. Phenomenal. I said, oh my God, 58, looking like 28. Michelle Stafford does some working out, period. She keeps herself toned and fit. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead. So anyway, Danny meets her. She just puts on a little trench coat. Danny meets her. And she talks about, he goes, what's so important, Phyllis? I took the liberty. She ordered a martini for him. And he's like, what? But no, obviously you needed to talk about something. What is it? What can I help you with? Oh, I need you to play that song that you said I inspired you, that I was your inspiration. Can you play it? He's like, but it's not even finished. I don't have the lyrics. Can you just play the song? And he goes, now? And she's like, yeah. Okay. So he goes to the piano. He plays a song. She slips out her phone, is recording and playing the song. And then she kind of makes sure the phone comes into where it gets her face. And she puts something about emojis and everything when your ex plays you a love song. And of course, Christine sees it. She's sitting at the bar at the GCAC. Now they're in the jazz lounge. She's up at the bar. And she sees it. So Danny comes back and he's sitting down. And Phyllis was saying, that song is just, oh, it's so good. And so he goes, Phyllis, but what did you call me here for? You know, it's just so hot in here. Oh, she's trying to open up the trench coat. This chick opens that trench coat up, showing all the bra in public at the table at the jazz lounge. And when I saw that, I said, now see, Phyllis, you used to be my girl. There is no ounce of self-respect with her doing that. Just, there were people in that jazz lounge. And she, all that, right? And then she and then she made it so that now one breast was showing there with the bra as she's talking to him. And he's like, gump, you know. And I'm like, Danny, you should walk away, right? You should walk away because you're claiming that's not what you want. Okay. But needless to say, oh, she bashes Christine and tells him, yeah. And he goes, Phil it. Oh, his phone chimes. She goes, don't get that. Don't get it. Don't even look. She knew that it was chiming from when she posted the song. And he saw it and he said, Phyllis, why did you do this? Do what, Danny? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do know. You posted this song on Instagram or internet. And he says, she goes, I like the song. What's wrong with that? It's a beautiful song. And she goes, he goes, you know exactly why you did this. You did it so Christine would see it. You want people to think there's something going on with us more than it is. She goes, no, that's not what I'm doing. But one thing I can tell you is there is heat going on between us. And he goes, no, there isn't. She goes, you don't want boring Christine. You don't want that. You know, what we had is passion. And he goes, Phyllis, You told me you changed. I believe you changed. I believed you. But this you haven't. This is your old tricks. This is what you do. You try to destroy. This whole thing is so you can get at Christine. That's what this whole thing's about. So he gets up and he gets up from the table and he goes to the bar. Now you're pissed at Phyllis. She's showing she has no self-respect by pretty much almost showing her whole top, the little broad, right? So you're going to get up and just go right there to the bar. What do you think she's going to do? She did exactly what you thought she was going to do. She got up. Anyway, I'm right. And then it came out that he didn't tell Christine about the other kiss. And she goes, why didn't you tell Christine? He goes, because the kiss meant nothing. She goes, oh no, I think that kiss meant a lot, especially since you decided to keep it a secret. And now she's all in his space, all in his space, in his face. So you need to either give in to it, realize the heat and the passion, and I know what I want. I know what I want. And I know you want it too. And he's standing there like, no, no, I don't want you to kiss me. No, no, I don't. So anyway, she kisses him. And he ain't stopping it. And she pulls back, or he pulls back a little bit. And she goes, you know you like this. This is feeling good. So she goes in again, and then he puts his hands all around her back and is pulling it. No. From she didn't pull, he pulled back when he completely pulled back. As she's kissing him, he decides to get more into it now. And that's when he really wraps his arms around her, pulls her in close, and Christine came down the stairs and she's watching all of this. Him pretty much just groping her back, right? And then she just turns and she walks back up the stairs. And he finally, after getting good and ready with the tongue swapping, yes, indeed, pushes her away. Phyllis, no, you have to stop this. You have to stop it. And she goes, stop what? No, I am with Christine. She goes, your kiss says otherwise. Oh, and he's just so upset. No, no, Phyllis, this, no. So he walks up the stairs. He goes up to the turnstile. They bring him his coat, and he sees Christine sitting at the bar. She had already texted Nina, I'm glad you're in town. I need a friend. Right? Not Nina. Yeah, Nina. I need a friend. So she's waiting on Nina to text her back. Danny walks over to her. Hello, beautiful. And he reaches in to kiss her, and Christine does a matrix move on him. She's like, ooh, no, whoa, no. And he's like what? She goes, did Phyllis suddenly have to leave? And he goes, oh, you must have saw that social media post. Phyllis is the same old Phyllis. You're right. She hasn't changed. I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt that she changed, but she hasn't changed. You're right. You're right. And she goes, I'm not talking about the post. I saw you two kissing downstairs in the jazz lounge. And he looked. She kissed me. She was kissing me. And she goes, cut the crap, Danny. You were kissing her too, just as much as she was kissing you. I don't know what kind of game you're playing. She says, you must be used to that on the road with all the women and groupies and everything. But no, no, you were right. You told me. that Phyllis was just trying to come between us. You told me that she is still up to her same old Phyllis. I should have believed you. I should have believed my, and she goes, you know what, Danny? I don't have time for this. Nina had texted her and she looked at it. She goes, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for you. And she left. And he's sitting there. And she walks past Phyllis. And Phyllis is just looking at her like, and she looks at Danny sitting, because Christine was at the bar from the upstairs, right, off the dining area. So she goes over to him and she sits down. She goes, what's wrong with the bug? And he goes, Phyllis. Or she may have said, what's wrong with Christine? You may have ruined the last chance that I ever would have with Christine. You being vindictive and playing games. We are through. And she's like, what do you mean we're through? Can't be through. We share a son together. We have a grandchild together. We have family together here. He goes, we are through. I don't want nothing more to do with you, and stay away from me. And he turns and he snatches his coat and he leaves. And Phyllis is just sitting at the bar like, oh, well, my work here is done. The only thing she wanted to do was break them up. It's like Daniel said, you know, I don't want you messing with dad because you have no intentions in being with him, mom. You just want to mess with him. And that's exactly what Phyllis wanted. That's exactly what she wanted. So then we have, oh my goodness, if I have to see Ashley one more week, Jack, why is he doing this to me, Jack? He's trying to gaslight me. He's trying to get me to doubt my what do you call it? Senility. He's why, Jack? I didn't want him to leave town. How could you be so cruel to me, Jack? Oh, Ash, Ash, just stay away from me, Ash. I gotta know, no, I've got to know. Now, once again, Ashley's running back to the GCAC to go and see Tucker. It was what, 4 times last week? Back and forth. I got no. Sit down. That was Ashley, and the week before too. So she's like, Tucker, I gotta speak. You have to admit that you are lying about the version that you're saying happened in Paris. And Tucker's like, I don't have to admit anything because it's the truth. And she's like, why are you doing this to me? And I'm thinking, okay, everybody. She's completely unraveling right in front of everybody's eyes. Jack of all people should be able to see these signs. You notice they don't have her interact with Abby because Abby would see the signs. Ashley has always had mental health issues, and she's in crisis right now. And Tucker saying, you know what, Ashley? And he's talking so calm. He says, you know what, Ashley? I don't honestly. First, he said, I don't know what you're doing, what you're trying to do. He goes, but then again, I do know. Oh, you know? You're going to try to psychoanalyze me? He goes, you know, you have attachment issues. That's why you've never had a long-standing relationship in years. Years. He says, you and I got together, got married, and that scared you. So you had to go to Paris, take me to Paris. Remember, that was her idea to go to Paris. And as soon as we got there, you blindsided me. He goes, you, Ashley. And now, to make yourself feel good or better about what you've done, you are creating this reality that does not exist to protect your feelings. Oh, really? Oh, really? He goes, obviously, he said, because what you're saying happened did not happen, Ashley. It did not. And for you to have to convince yourself that it did, he goes, something else is going on. And he walked away from her. And she's standing there. Waste of time. I don't need to see Ashley anymore. So now let's go to the Nikki. We had Nikki all week long. Now, she and Lauren are on the patio at Crimson Lights, and she came to tell Lauren to thank you for the night before, you know. And Lauren, before she sat down, she goes, I want you to tell me one thing. Have you been drinking? Oh, she wasn't playing. And Nikki's like, no, I haven't. I haven't. And I want to thank you and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, Seth was supposed to, she had been reaching out to Seth, but he didn't return her calls last night. She goes, which is kind of odd because he said he would keep his phone on. So Seth walks in and he sees them and he walks over to him. Seth plays a good person who's been drinking. He wasn't playing a stumbling faller, but his whole face looked different, everybody, right? From the cool, calm, collected sponsor we had seen last week. I knew right away with his eyes, the way he was squinting, and he goes, hey, Nikki. And she goes, oh, Seth, I wanted to thank you for what you did last night. And Lauren said, yes, thank you for picking up the phone and coming over. He goes, nope, that's what I'm here for. I'm a good sponsor. And Nikki's kind of looking at his eyes and looking at his face, and he don't want her to look through him. So he's like, he goes, she goes, oh, no, he goes, oh, oh. She goes, what's the, because I'm tired. Oh, and I'm sorry, Seth, that's my fault. He goes, no, no, Nikki, I'm glad to be there for you anytime. But no, I think I may be coming down with something. And she's looking like, oh, really? Mm-hmm. She goes, I was at the meeting this morning and I didn't see you there. Oh, yeah, no. I'm on my way to a meeting right now. She goes, oh, okay. But remember, you said you're coming down with something. So after the meeting, you should probably go home and get some rest. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So Nikki sits down after he leaves and she tells Lauren, did he seem right to you? And Lauren's like, what? And she's like, I think he's been drinking. And Lauren's like, oh, that's not good. Right? And it's all my fault. And she goes, oh, no, no, it is absolutely not your fault. It's up to Seth to handle his own sobriety. And he's supposed to be a sponsor. He should have a better handle on it. He still should be responsible. If he is having issues, he should not be your sponsor. He should step away and he knows that. Right? So Jack walks up. Hey, ladies. And Nikki stands up. Hey, Jack. Hi, how are you? She goes, listen. He goes, I haven't seen you two in a long time. And Nikki goes, and look, I've got to go. So I will see you later. And she walks off. And she looks at Lauren first. And Lauren looks at her. And Jack is wondering why are they looking at each other like that, right? And she leaves. And he goes, Lauren, is everything okay with Nikki? And Lauren just looks at him. So she goes, no. And I don't know what to do. So he goes, you know what? He invites her back to his place so they could talk, so it could be private, right? And she tells him. And she tells Jack that she feels Jack would be the perfect sponsor for Nikki because Jack beat his own addiction. And he said, look, if it wasn't for Phyllis and Neil, I don't think I could have done it. He goes, so I know. She goes, and Nikki needs you. There is no Neil. There is no Catherine. And her own sponsor, she feels, has just lost his sobriety, starting to has been drinking again. He goes, "Oh no." So anyway, he ends up agreeing to it. He goes, but she goes, "Just let it come up and don't tell her I told you." He goes, "I'll start an interest, just a innocent conversation with her, and perhaps it'll come up." And so he's developed that plan. Now, in the meantime, Seth is waiting for Nikki in her office. And boy, he's itching for a drink. He's getting fidgety sitting there on the couch. He jumps up and starts rifling through her desk because remember, she told him she kept a flask in the desk. And she was saying Victor didn't see anything. And he goes, "That's because you had it well hidden." So he's looking through the drawers and he's looking. And Nikki walks in. She goes, "And what do you think you're doing?" Oh, Nisha, "Hi, Nikki. I came by to see you." She goes, "Oh, and you know what? I overstepped looking through your desk. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have any alcohol." And she goes, "No, you wanted to see if I had some alcohol so you could drink it." And he looked at her. I don't, Nikki, I don't. She goes, "Seth, I see the signs. I see it. You have been drinking." And Seth is like, "Okay, yeah, yes, I have. But you know what? That was last night. One drink, I got it out of my system." She goes, "Oh, it's not out of your system. I know it don't work like that." He goes, "But you know what? Maybe you and I both can go and we can have some lunch and we could, lean on, be there for each other." She goes, "And you know it don't work like that either. I cannot be around you and you've been drinking. I will not and I cannot. As a sponsor, that can't happen." So he listens. "Oh, but like I said, no." And then she goes, "Seth, no." And Audra walks in. She goes, "Okay, Nikki, but oh, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting." And Nikki goes, "Oh no, he's just leaving." And he looked at her. She goes, "Bye, Seth." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And so he leaves, and Audra's like, "Is there a problem here?" And so Nikki tells Audra what's going on, that's Seth and their sponsor, and he's been drinking. He fell off the wagon again, and it's all my fault. And Audra's like, "No, that's not your fault. That's not how that works. He's responsible for his own actions." And then she talked about her father, and Nikki said, "Surprisingly, and don't take this the wrong way, I never took you as the caring and compassionate person, or as a caring and compassionate person." And Audra says, "No, I know everybody just feels I'm ambitious and into things for myself." She goes, "I have one soft spot, one, and that's my father and his sobriety." And so, anyway, she goes, "And you're right, you can't be around him." So Jack texts Nikki to come over to his house, and she goes, Audra's like, "What's going on?" She says, "I get a text from an unlikely person." She goes, "And I bet I know exactly what this is all about." So Nikki gets over there. Jack actually tells Diane. Jack tells Diane what's on his mind, what Lauren said and how he's going to help Nikki, but he wanted to tell Diane first. And then he told her about his own stint with drug addiction, with the pain pills. And she goes, "I didn't know any of that." He goes, "I know. It's a chapter in my life that I've long closed that door, but I'm going to help Nikki. And I just want to make sure this doesn't come between us." And she goes, "No, no, of course not." And so Nikki comes over and Diana's leaving. And she goes, "I'm late for meeting Kyle for lunch." So Nikki sits down and Jack says, "So how have you been, Nikki?" And she looks at him. He goes, "I heard you went through an ordeal, you and your family." She goes, "Cut the crap, Jack. We both know why you called me over here. And he goes, what? She goes, Lauren told you, didn't she? And he just looked. And so scene went out and it came back and he's talking to her. He goes, he goes, I figured something was wrong and Lauren couldn't lie. And, you know, Nikki, Lauren feels like I'm the perfect person to help you. And I feel I am too. And she goes, why would Lauren think you're the perfect person to help me? And he's like, because I know what it's like to fight addictions. You know, I know what it's like. And he goes, and Nikki, I've got another reason too. When you first started drinking all those decades ago, you and I were married. And she just looked at him. He goes, and I did not handle that well at all. He goes, I'm here to right a wrong. I'm here to handle it right or better this time, if you'll let me. So Nikki finally concedes, that not that she'll let him help. She finally was off the defensive. And he wrapped it up. They had a good talk and he wrapped it up into, look, night or day or night, you need someone to talk to, you call me, Nikki. You call me. And I'm going to be there for you. So, we left them and now Diane is at society talking to Kyle and Kyle is taking the magnet, mom, she goes, I've been talking to your father about the CEO position and you. And he goes, Mom, you know what? Look, the COO position is not as bad as I thought. There is a lot I have to learn. Dad was right about that. So she goes, nonsense. She says, Kyle, you were the CEO before you became CEO of co-CEO before you became CEO of Marchetti. The job was your job. You should go back into your job. And so he goes, no, I honestly feel I do have a lot more to learn from Dad. He goes, actually, the person that should take the COO job, co-CEO job is you. And she goes, me? Why me? You have experience doing the job. I have not done that job. He goes, but you'll do well. And Dad has every confidence in you. She goes, no, Kyle, no, that's not right. That job is your job. And so Jack comes in and he sits down and, oh, my two favorite people, what are you talking about? And I think Diane says, the CEO job. And he goes, oh, okay. And he goes, Kyle says, Dad, yeah, and I have some thoughts on that. And Jack says, you know what? I've got thoughts on that too. I don't have to look any further. I've made a decision. But Kyle goes, but Dad, before you say something, first, let me say something. I think Mom should be the CEO. I think she's the better choice. And Jack looked at Kyle and he goes, how did you know? Great minds think alike. And Diana's like, wait, what? That's exactly what I was going to say. I thought long and hard, and I want you, Diane, to be the co-CEO. No, but Jack, it's Kyle's. That's Kyle's job. And he goes, Kyle already just said he agrees with me. And Kyle is sitting there because Jack is so busy smiling at Diane. He's like, but I really didn't mean that. That was just something to say. you know? Yeah. Now, let's take a look at everything, everybody. What was Billy and Ashley's main concern, even Tracy? Their main concern was Jack was going to make Diane co-CEO. And look, all within the same year. Well, we are 2024, but just barely. He's gonna make her co-CEO unilaterally, not bringing it up to the board, no vote, no nothing, unilateral decision, which is the same thing that Billy was saying. So we all know Diana is going to reluctantly accept everybody. She's going to reluctantly accept that position. So let's go to comment corner. Comment corner. We have a few comments. And the comment is from Amy. You do an amazing Nikki impersonation. Thank you, Amy. Sherry says, I don't trust Seth. Now that we know, and this is interesting, they rarely ever tell a story where an alcoholic's sponsor also falls off the wagon. That's an interesting twist. Unfortunately, we know Nikki's spiral down here is nowhere near over. I think she and Seth are going to end up drinking together, which is why they shouldn't be together, and they're going to end up being in bed together, and Victor's going to catch them. Unfortunately, I could see that coming a mile away. And then Joanne says Nikki needs to go to an inpatient rehab to dry out completely and take care of her health. You are so right. Why are they not sending her to a nice, cushy rehab spa? That's exactly what needs to happen. And I don't know why they're not doing that. And they never have. And then Otherworldly says, I mean, in my 40 years of watching off and on, I don't remember Victor ever sending Nikki away. They never send her to a place where she could get help because she's a strong woman. She could do this herself. Nope. And then Joanne says, great recap, so enjoyable. Thank you, Joanne. And Belinda says, recap lady, you deserve an Oscar for this awesome recap. Your facial expressions and body language are absolutely hilarious and so on target when you talked about Ashley, Nikki, Jordan, and Nick in these somewhat boring episodes. Thank you for this awesome recap. Belinda, you are welcome. And you know what? I love to have fun with it because sometimes you have to have fun. Young and the Restless move so slow. Oh my goodness, right? And then Amy says, I agree. Very entertaining and funny to listen to. Thank you for doing these for us. You are welcome. I mean, I don't like the fact that I'm doing them a week at a time or 4 days at a time. Oh my goodness, but things are so busy and this is the best I can do, everybody. I am going to try to get back to doing them at least 2 to 3 times a week. Oh my goodness, I'm going to try. All right. So everybody, I will be back next week for another daily recap of The Young and the Restless.